right. Welcome to Cincinnati NAACP, Truth to Power, on the Block Digital Network. I'm Nicole, Second Vice President and Criminal Justice Chair for the Cincinnati NAACP.
And I am Joe Mallory, First Vice President and Chair of the Environmental and Climate Justice Committee.
That is long. We're going to have to use some acronyms for that.
And ECJ.
Yeah, okay. And Truth to Power is the podcast that will give you information, motivation, and inspiration to be the change in your communities because you are the movement. And our president is Robert Richardson Sr. And as always, he wishes well wishes to all of you and happy holidays because we just got off a holiday break here. Did you enjoy your holiday?
It was so relaxing. You know, I needed all that rest because it's the first time I'd had that many days off in a row since way before the election. You know, we got started this cycle like in August, so it was like pretty much nonstop. But it was great to have that rest and an opportunity and a chance for reflection, you know, and kind of meditate on all the great things that we had to be thankful and grateful for.
Absolutely. And in the Taylor household, we were eating good. If y'all been on my Facebook page, you see what I mean. We was tripping. Had always enjoyed my family and that time, and to eat real good. I hope I ain't gained too much weight, but we'll work it out in the new year, I guess. So we got a lot to talk about.
Right.
A lot to talk about. And yes, the Block Digital Network. And one thing that is happening locally. So we had C.O.A.S.T attacking one of the city council members personally, Tamaya Dennard, Councilwoman Tamaya Dennard. And this is in relation to text messages where some individuals felt the need to pursue conveniently all the Democrats on our city council and asked for their public records of their texts because they believed that they were having a meeting via text and not allowing the public to have access to this meeting beforehand. And in our state, it's a sunshine law and it's against the law, even though...
if you have a majority.
If you have a majority. At the same time, we're talking about emails, and I don't think the creators of this law anticipated social media in a sense. And I still have a lot of questions behind it, but be that as it may, it has them all entangled in some sort of issue. And this individual, which let me explain, C.O.A.S.T is like our local Tea Party. It's a local Tea Party organization, self-proclaimed watchdog of taxpayer dollars. But really, in reality, they've cost taxpayers more, millions more, in all these frivolous lawsuits, just like the one that is happening today.
Well, just to be clear, the acronym, you know, for C.O.A.S.T is what it stands for is Citizens Opposed to Additional Spending and Taxes. So it's conservative. It's supposed to be fiscally conservative and fighting for the taxpayer and waste. But you know, they've pretty much been doing a lot of lawsuits on open records and all that, but they get paid large sums of money when they do sue. And it's pretty, I guess it's pretty smart to try to create a revenue stream. You know, if you're a law firm, you just file a little lawsuit and say they didn't give me these papers when I wanted them, and you just keep it in the courts, and then they have to pay out. You know, so they're paying out taxpayers' dollars. You know, most people say, okay, yeah, we should have, and we'll provide it, but no, they're doing it for the money. I don't care what anybody says. They're doing it for the money.
Yeah. And so, just to give you some idea of the tweet that member, they're anonymous. You know, we don't know which member of C.O.A.S.T put this out. It's very cowardly, I believe. I'll read it for you. I can't, since I don't know who it is, I imagine this person sounds like Satan.
How's Satan say? Can you imitate?
I'll give it a try.
You do your 45 voice. You use that one.
I've been practicing. Let's see here. So, this is the tweet. At Go C.O.A.S.T.
Hey, T. Dennard, you are still being hunted. Think about it. Eventually, you will make a public appearance, where the sheriff can serve you with your grand jury subpoena. Do you really want to make a spectacle of this? Cooperate. Hashtag cooperate. Hashtag turn yourself in. Hashtag surrender.
Kind of sound like Yoda.
You're right. That's like really scratching my throat a little bit. But yeah, so I'm hilarious, but in all seriousness, the comment was very inflammatory. When you think about our climate right now, where we have a lot of hate groups on the rise, and anyone that is exerting, language that in a matter of hunting people down. And then this is an African American female, and our history in this country, where slaves were hunted down when they're trying to get away, and issues like that. It was just insensitive, tone deaf, and vindictive, arrogant. I mean,
It's very disturbing and offensive, and when you think about someone who's sitting behind a keyboard not having to identify on their name who they are saying what they're saying, yeah. That is kind of spineless. Most other folks, you put their name out there, but it's kind of spineless, and they're hiding behind this name, and nobody knows. Everybody has access, and they say, well, we don't know who did it. So many people, if they want to, they can find out who did it. And the thing about it is, they're getting, you're trying to control this narrative, yeah, about someone, and they're getting real polarizing, mm-hmm, with these comments, very polarizing, and it's also dehumanizing, when they're like basically saying things like, you are being hunted, mm-hmm, and I took it the way that I think that they use their First Amendment rights and think they're tongue in cheek, but I think it's very offensive and racist. Right. And it's kind of like, they're bullying through this Twitter account, mm-hmm, much like they probably learned from their the example they see on a national level. Mm-hmm. I'm not even gonna name any names because they got thin skins, and they might start trying to come and see our podcast and see what we're saying. But we need to stand up, yeah, against these types of acts and behaviors, because it can motivate someone else, and yeah, it could kind of stir the pot and fan the flames against someone to try to take action, yeah, on their own.
Some vigilante justice.
Yeah, to make a name for themselves. It is unacceptable. It's juvenile, and they need to police themselves, mm-hmm, and deal with it. And if their purpose was to get the text, and it all came out after some real reporting by the Business Courier, mm-hmm, Chris Wederick put out on his Twitter account that they in fact did cooperate. Right. She did turn in her phone. Wow. All the rest of the council people, the 5 that they're going after, did turn in their phones, mm-hmm, to be downloaded to get the information. Yeah. They were cooperating, but it's not the narrative they want to spin. They want to motivate their followers, mm, and they get really nasty and say some crazy things, yeah, out there in the internet. And that's not a healthy discourse, and it doesn't display any civility. Mm-mm. To try to have some kind of a civil conversation about something. I mean, it's not. I mean, if they want the text, get the text, and we'll see what happens, and the chips will fall where they may.
Well, you got to be thinking that we're dealing with civil individuals, and like you said, they have a running history. They're very provocative in ways. They say a lot of salacious things, and this is just to add to the bunch. But sometimes you go too far, and in a way, I'm glad that this exposure that they're getting, because it's so many people who have shared that tweet over, and not necessarily giving them the hits on their Twitter account, but just snapshotting it and sharing it on other social media sites, and just putting their message behind it, like how egregious, like this is unbelievable, why would anyone say this, and how racist and tone deaf this is, and allowing people to comment. And just from what I've seen, people have zero tolerance.
But they also doubled down and they started commenting like, "Wow, we getting all these likes. Everybody's is going viral." And then they come up and say things about about Sittenfeld and Seelbach talked about them being a douche,
okay.
and say we're going to take a little vote. Are they super douchey or all that kind of
wow.
stuff is really juvenile, childlike behavior. And if that's the way they want their brand to be out there, we already have our own opinions about the brand.
Right.
But if that's the way they want to put it out there, that they're racist, intolerant, bigots, so be it. But we're going to stand up and call them what they are. When they display those things, we're going to call them exactly what they are. And that's what everyone should do, is call them out and say it's not acceptable. Now, they've been making comments saying, well, I told them, let's tone it down, because they understand it's getting kind of heated.
Yeah.
Even the prosecutor says, everybody needs to chill, and let him do his thing. But, I will always stand up and speak out when that type of thing happens. When they make these kind of polarizing, racially polarizing, comments that fan these flames that are happening at the national level. And
Right.
it's not going to come in here with us. As long as we are here, we're going to stand up against that. And the NAACP did. We put out a statement that, is reprehensible, it's repulsive,
Yeah.
that racially, polarizing and bigot type speech, we're not having it. And we'll stand up every time against it.
And they need to apologize, and more needs to denounce this type of rhetoric. And I'm surprised that more people on council aren't supporting their colleague in a way to just say that this type of language is unacceptable, especially if you're African American on council. I mean, every single one should stand up, right or wrong, this particular situation in the way they're trying to single her out and really put her life in danger, put her name.
I mean, she's out in the public, and there could be somebody crazy that comes up and does something crazy, to her.
And they're making light of it.
So, one thing I believe is the narrative that they're trying to spin. I believe that they're using this text message thing like they're having these illegal meetings because they have a majority of council, and it's in private. But I think the real issue is they're trying to find out if they can use something that's in those texts that will help somebody else who's running for office down the road. So basically, it's a fishing expedition to try to gather information and to be used at a later date, 2021.
Wow. Well, I think
So that's really what they're carrying somebody's water,
Oh.
so it could be used
Oh.
by that person in 2021.
Wow.
That is my opinion, and I stand by that.
Sticking to it. Well, that's pretty good. I didn't even, think in that respect. And I guess just to add to that, of course, like we said, we're calling for them to apologize and to do those things. But I also think that, it's really some sort of self-righteous action, just similar to like where people call 911 and they, take advantage of the double standards in our criminal justice system and take pleasure in the demise of others. And so, white privilege gives them the advantage.
Yeah, it smacks of privilege all day long. Privilege and entitlement, is all over this.
And then our black skin, what it gets us, we're either going to be locked up, beat up, or killed behind this. And so people have to be mindful of that. And we're going to, like Joe say, stand up to these type of
Bullies.
And the way we defeat this hate is collectively, and I'm so happy to see so many people in the community stand up, so many different leaders, and call this out and denounce it. And we need to continue to do that, and more people need to do it, so these people don't feel emboldened and encouraged and empowered to make these type of comments and to like kick people when they're down.
And see what it is. There's a bunch of attorneys that are involved with C.O.A.S.T. That's how I got started. And they'll sue you in a second. They're not nice people, and they will carry somebody else's water to come out whatever their desired outcome is. But we need to be the same way. People who are good intentions, good character, and want to see some civility and be more tolerant, I mean, we need to stand up and get some folks that are smart and have the skill sets to do the same thing. You know, look at their operation and see how they're operating and who's supporting them financially. You know, things like that, and exposing them.
I wanted to know, so I know the whole issue is with text messages, right? And I guess, like you said, if they're a majority and they're discussing, you know, city business, that's considered a meeting. That's the whole premise.
Right.
How is that any different from, you know, a group email, you know, and people on city council emailing each other, and it may be in a discussion matter of some sort of upcoming legislation or any issue. Like, how's these text messages any different from a group email, and should people be asking for a public records request for that?
Well, it's all public information. Anytime you're doing business and you're an elected official, you know, we all have to understand that anything, if you're in a public position, is able to be looked at. And they always say, don't put anything out there in private that you're not going to be proud of being on the front page of the newspaper. So they could absolutely get access to the emails. But I don't believe in fishing expeditions to try to get something. It's happened before with us, where at my job, where they wanted to get some information about somebody to prove their case, but they want access to all your emails. And suppose they're looking for one thing, but then they get your email and say, oh, well, let's use this thing over here because this might be something that's kind of salacious, maybe an embarrassment to this person if somebody else saw it.
They can retrieve that.
Well, no, they're supposed to be able to have somebody that looks at that. But you know, there's been so much that's been leaked about different things that's allegedly said in these text messages. You don't know what the truth is.
Oh, like when John Cranley, when they were investigating the one guy in Chicago, and then John Cranley email was exposed about what he said about the black chief and having to fire an African American.
Right. So they don't worry about it'll blow over in 48 hours.
That one. I don't think you expected that to come out, but somehow in that investigation it did.
Right. Well, someone up in Chicago, some journalist did a public records request, and they had to fight for a long time. Because they were trying to go after Rahm Emanuel. And that got all caught up in there. You know, and he was kind of giving him advice of how to navigate through the situation that he was undergoing with the police officers, you know, with police brutality against some of the citizens. And the blacks were upset, and rightfully so, because we saw once the video came out with the Laquan McDonald assassination with the police officer who he did get convicted. But he shot him like 16 times, said he had a knife. I mean, he was so far away from him, shot him all up, and there's video of it. But the judge wouldn't let the video come out, and then a year or something later, when people see what really happened, that's when people get upset. And then for the mayor to say he never saw it, that's a damn lie. I mean, he can say that. I don't think there's anybody that believes that he did not see that video, and he's the mayor of the city of Chicago. Do you believe that he didn't see that video?
Of course not.
He saw that video, said, "Oh shit, let's see if we can stop this from getting out." Because it is ugly.
About it in 48 hours.
You know, and like Brother Malcolm said, I'm for the truth, you know, no matter who tells it.
Wow. He was taking advice from all the mayors across the country. What's your advice?
So the bottom line is, you know, we get
down in
the weeds, but, you know, when it comes to issues that you're discussing in a public position, anybody can come and ask for it and get access to it. This happened many times to me where they want to get emails and, you know, you're not supposed to delete them. You're supposed to preserve them. They can come in forensically and get stuff that you thought was deleted. You know,
the cloud.
So,
and that was the other thing. Like, it just seemed that, you know, even if they had one person's phone, then you have all of the messages. Like a group text, a person can delete all they want to, but if one of the 5 people still has their
information intact. It might have been some stuff like, so suppose there's this 5-way conversation, but then maybe 2 or 3 go off and have a different conversation. That's not a majority, but they have a different conversation, and then 2 come over here and have a different conversation.
But that has
and they're
nothing
talking,
to do with that.
has nothing to do with it. But
yeah.
on this fishing expedition, trying to find out what kind of city business they're talking about or making any decisions, they see that and say, oh, how can you unsee what you saw? If somebody called you a name and you weren't looking for that, but they say, Joe Mallory or Nicole is this and that, you know, it's going to be hard to not be affected by, like, oh, shit, what?
Yeah. What you say about me?
Like, all right, I wasn't looking for that, but now I know how you feel, and, you know, that kind of stuff.
Oh, okay.
So, but that's a fishing expedition. They're trying to find dirt.
Yeah.
That's what they want. They really want to find some dirt.
It's all political.
To help somebody in 2021. And I can't wait, because I will not be working in my current position then, and it will have my full attention, because when I retire, I will have all kind of free time to be involved politically and to say fully what I really feel about a lot of things, and may even enter into public life again.
What?
So I can't wait.
Hurt him, Joe.
I can't wait.
That's that power to the people.
Yeah, once, you know, I kind of been over there, kind of holed up, you know, doing my job, you know, speaking out on different things, but they'll have my full attention.
Well, we cannot wait. So, moving on, we could talk about the Alabama mall shooting.
Oh, that was horrible.
Yeah.
That was horrible. And then we still haven't got to the bottom of it. There's a lot of inconsistencies in the stories. You know, a young man, there was an altercation, and they thought it was a mass shooting going on, but a young man had...
and his name is
EJ?
Emantic Bradford Jr. And this happened on Thanksgiving Day at the Riverside Chase Gallery Mall in Birmingham, Alabama. And so there was a gunman who opened fire and shot an 18-year-old and a 12-year-old at the mall. And when the Hoover Police Department rushed in and saw Emantic Bradford Jr. Brandishing a gun without a warning, and hear me clearly, without a warning, they shot and killed a 21-year-old Army vet who had a permit to carry a firearm. At first, they believed that that was their gunman, and then shortly after that, they retract that statement and said, well, they don't believe the person who was shot wasn't involved, but
they said he had some kind of involvement in it.
Some kind of, but he was not the shooter. And to add insult to injury, the police did not administer medical assistance after the shooting, and the family was not informed and learned of their loved one's death on social media.
Correct.
Where they watched their loved one bleed out with a gunshot to the face.
And the young man's father is a police officer. So we all know, you know, you can be having that uniform on, but once you take it off, you know, a lot of times we'll see what people really think about us. You know, so it's really a tragedy that we continue to go through these things over and over again, where they make snap decisions, but when there's someone with a different hue that does something like that, they want to talk them down. They got time to negotiate and try to de-escalate to try to take them into custody. Not so much for someone of color. When there's a situation, they want to eliminate the situation and end it right there. No talking, no questions asked. You know, you get shot.
And so, you know, how long are we supposed to just accept that?
Never.
Because I'm hearing this, and it's just like, you know, and that's just the way it goes, and that's just the way it is. But like, what the hell are we really going to do to end this? Because it's not acceptable. The preservation of life should be first and foremost.
Well, accountability.
And accountability. We
as citizens have to hold them accountable. You know, there's a lot of weight given to, you know, the officers of the court, the peace officers, the police officers, who are supposed to protect and serve, but they're human as well, and they have feelings as well. They have biases, and they have privilege, and they don't look at you the same way they do their friends. They don't see you as a human being. They don't see you as somebody as their equal.
Well, whose problem is that, though?
But the problem is we end up dying.
Yeah.
We end up dying based on things that are predisposed and haven't been dealt with. That's why you know, we want to do this program and support this police officer here in Cincinnati to do this program where we can educate all officers who come through for their training,
Right.
you know, the cultural piece, and so they can see and they can really empathize and understand the struggles and look at it from a different perspective. It's trying to educate them.
Yeah.
So
And learn
we
how
can't
the
talk too much
police-
about that. That's all
Yeah,
in
that's
the
all
works.
under wraps. Yeah.
But you know, there needs to be this cultural competency that is undertaken
Yeah.
by the individuals who can say yes or no in those kind of decisions
Yeah.
to make it easier to have that kind of information dispersed to their trainees.
Yeah. And there just needs to be more accountability all the way around. But I want to know what happened to the theory that the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is with a good guy with a gun. Must that good guy only be white?
Well, speaking of that, when we're talking about the stand your ground, there's so many disparities, racial disparities. So it's been proven with laws like stand your ground, if you have a gun and you're legally, you know, authorized to be able to carry it concealed or open, that if a white person shoots a black person, the percentage is 34% that they will be found that is justifiable. But if a black person shoots a white person, it's 3% justifiable. And then also murders, you know, shootings increase. You know, homicides increase when they have a law like stand your ground. In every state that they have implemented and they pass a law for the stand your ground law, homicides have increased.
So I guess men lie, women lie, numbers don't lie. The data says what it is, and people want to pass laws that basically put people like ourselves in danger.
We have to be vigilant. We have to be insistent and keep pushing back against things that will threaten our existence.
Yeah.
You know, we have to really be tireless, you know, and hold the police accountable too, because, you know, they come up with policies and systems, you know, but it's not for everybody.
No.
It's for the way they operate, where they're going to do business. But we have to look to make sure that their training and all the protocols that they follow, that, you know, it's going to be equitable across the board.
Right.
That it's going to be even-handed, treating everybody the same, even though we all have in the back of our mind, as people of color, we say, yeah, it's easy for them to say that, but when they get into a situation, we're the ones who are really in jeopardy.
So for me,
I'm going to tell you something. If I ever get pulled over, when I get pulled over, I'm like, it's kind of like, it's nervous. It makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Because
Anxiety rises. Yeah.
I put my hands on the wheel, like I'm not moving. The guy's like, hey, he's like, nah, man, I'm not taking any chances because I don't want to be, I thought you were this and that. Like, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not making a move until we get everything understood.
Yeah. And that's a sad state of affairs for a citizen of the United States. When you're a citizen, you pay your taxes. You're trying to live the dream of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, just like everybody else. And for me, this is a sore spot because I have a brother who is, was in the National Guard, sergeant. He has a concealed carry, and it's the one thing that frightens me every day about him. Like, he goes about his life, and I worry that I'm gonna see on the news that he's gotten killed by the police because he had his concealed carry, which is his right to do in this state of Ohio.
Being a law-abiding
over
citizen, you follow the laws and the procedures they put in place, and just because you have it on you, the police make a judgment call, and I thought he was reaching for it, and it's just not the same way. They don't look at people that are their same color the same way. They don't look at them as a threat.
The only way that's going to change is accountability, and if these lawmakers don't make a real concerted effort to change the way we do things and to preserve life, if that can't be the goal in every situation when it comes to law enforcement and them enforcing the law, because their job is to bring people to justice so they can have their day in court. That's it. Now there's situations where it becomes deadly and volatile, and people have made the example. And even in those situations, they have been able to bring it, particularly if they're white, bring them to justice, even after they done killed a whole church of people or killed a whole movie theater of people. They've been able to bring those individuals to justice. So we don't have to believe that the order of the day for people of color or just any citizen is to kill them.
It's getting hot in here, y'all.
I know.
Woo.
Because I get
getting passionate.
I get real.
That's passion right there.
Because I don't want to feel in no situation when it comes to our lives that it's a hopeless matter. You know what I mean? Like, something has to be done, and we got to do something.
While we're on that point, House Bill 228, which is a stand your ground law, that the House representatives in the state legislature in Ohio passed it. It's in the Senate now, so I just want to make a little reminder. Whoever your state senator is, find out who it is, Google it, or just call any state senator. Tell them you're opposed to the stand your ground bill.
That's right.
You want them to vote no on it and not to let it get out of the Senate. Because if they do pass it and it goes to the governor, he said he's going to veto it, but there's also the numbers we have to look at. They may have enough numbers to override the veto, which means it's going to become law. So let's try to stop it before he gets out of the Senate and stop it right there in its tracks. This is a lame duck session. You still have time to call your legislator, who is a state senator in Ohio. Google whoever they are in your area. I can give you names, but
you could go to the State House website, and it has a tab saying
Ohio State Legislature,
Ohio State Assembly,
Ohio State General Assembly,
and
then there's the legislators up there,
and it says who is your representative.
But you can go to the Board of Elections website at votehamiltoncounty.org, and on the home page it says where do I vote. So you put your information, you click that button, you put your address, your street name, and your zip code, and it'll pop up where your poll location is and all that. But it also tells you your districts and what the House district is, what the Senate district is, what the judicial district is. And you can look at that if you're in the 7th, 8th, or the 9th House district, then you can look up and see who your representative is.
Right, and then contact
So
them.
I think Blessing is in the 8th House district. I think Cecil Thomas is in the 9th State Senate Senate district. Blessing is in the 8th Senate district. I can't remember who's in the 7th Senate district, but that's what covers Hamilton County, the 7th, 8th, and 9th State Senate district.
And we're looking for state senators.
State senators. Not the U.S. senators.
The House has already voted. Now it's going over to the state Senate.
So I called last week. I called the incoming Secretary of State. He's currently a state senator, Frank LaRose. So Senator LaRose's office, I called his office and told them that I was opposed to it, and I wanted to make sure that he heard from us, and his person who took the call said, we're getting a lot of calls on this.
Great.
And they're also getting a lot of calls on the heartbeat bill. But they're getting a lot of pushback from the citizens. But we still don't know how they're going to vote. So we still have to keep these phone calls coming. Send an email.
Yeah, emails.
Phone call.
Always something in writing.
You can write one of those good old-fashioned handwritten letter or postcard to your legislator and let them know how you feel.
Yeah. So it's time to wrap it up, people.
Wow, already? Oh, my goodness.
No.
It's like we just sat down.
I know. So thank you again for listening to Truth to Power on the Block Digital Network, Cincinnati NAACP Truth to Power. I'm your girl, Nicole.
And I'm Joe.
And we're out.
Power to the people.